What's up, guys? Jeremy with Everything iDevice, and welcome to the next episode of the Beast Mac Mini Build 2013. In this video, I'm going to show you on how to remove the hard drive and install an SSD, and also how to upgrade your RAM. Now, do keep in mind, if you guys screw anything up, I will not be held accountable for any damage you cause to your Mac Mini. So go ahead and flip your Mac Mini over, and we got to remove this back cover. Really simple. Just go ahead and rotate it counterclockwise until the two other dots line up, and then you can simply just kind of pry at it, pop it off, and put it to the side. Pretty simple. Now, for those of you that want to upgrade just your RAM, I will cover that first because that is the most simple thing to upgrade with a Mac Mini. Now, there is the stock RAM, and like I said, we will be putting in Corsair Vengeance. As you can see there, to remove it, it's very simple. Just kind of pry at the two prongs that hold it in. It pops up, and then just slowly work it out. And then also for the second one, same thing. Pop out those two little prongs, lift it up just a little bit, and then just kind of wiggle it out. It comes out pretty simply. Now for upgrades, we're going to be going to 16 gigabytes of DDR3 1600 megahertz by Corsair Vengeance, like I mentioned in the supplies video. And this is obviously two 8 gigabyte cards. So first off, we're going to basically do the opposite as before. Put the bottom one in, just kind of slowly push it in. It's a little kind of difficult at first, then it goes in pretty easily. Push it down, and the prongs pop right back in. Same thing for the second card. Just kind of work it in, and then all you gotta do is push down and it pops in, just like so. So now next, to get in the SSD, we're gonna remove two T6 Torx screws on the fan. We gotta take the fan out, so we're gonna go ahead and remove both of those screws now. Do keep in mind, when you pull up on this fan, there is a cable connecting it to the logic board, so don't just rip it out. There's the connector right there. That's going to be the next thing we remove. Just go ahead and pry at it just a little bit. Be very gentle with these connectors. It will pop out. Next, we will be removing the fan shroud. There's only one screw. It's a T6 Torx right there. Go ahead and unscrew that. And then to get out this shroud, you got to kind of work at it just a little bit. It's a little bit difficult, but it will come out. Next, we do have the 4 screws holding in the Wi-Fi grill at the top. These are T8 Torx. Again, like I said, just be gentle with what you're doing. You don't want to strip out any of these screws, especially when you're putting it all back together. Do not over tighten anything. Just make sure it's nice and snug. Now again, like the fan, there is a cable on this Wi-Fi grill. As you can see it on the left hand side, so don't just rip it out. And then you go ahead and lift up on that little flap there, and it will reveal the connector as you can see it right there. Now to remove this, all you got to do is kind of pry at it from below. It'll pop out pretty easily. So there we go. Next, we're going to take off the SATA connector off the logic board. Very easy to take this connector off. Just kind of pop it up, just like so. Next, we do have the IR connector. This connector is probably the worst of all of them. So just kind of take your time with it and just pry at it, and it will pop off. Just make sure you don't break any of the connectors within it or anything like that. So there is the IR connector. And now next, we will have 3 screws. We have a silver one at the bottom, that's a T8, and then we do have 2 black screws on the logic board, and those are T6 screws. So we can go ahead and remove all 3 screws now. And now we can go ahead and install or put in the logic board removal tool, which goes in those 2 holes. Make sure that this thing goes all the way through the logic board until it goes to the outer part of the shell of the Mac Mini, and you can feel when it's properly seated. So go ahead and just kind of pry at it, pop at it. It'll pop out. Like I said, it's kind of, it feels kind of bad at first, but it will come out, and just slightly slide it forward. Just give yourself enough room to get out the hard drive. Taking out the hard drive is the easiest part. Just kind of slide it forward, and it will come out. So now we can go ahead and put the Mac Mini to the side, and then on the hard drive, there's this little piece of tape, as you can see it right there. Just go ahead and peel that tape off, and that's going to allow us to remove the SATA connector off of the hard drive, as we will need to transplant that onto our SSD. So just pop it off. Very simple getting that connector off. Go ahead and put that to the side. Now there is also 2 screws on the hard drive that you will need to transplant to the SSD as well. So we're going to go ahead and remove both of those screws. And now we can bring in the SSD to transplant those couple of parts. Like I said, I am using the OCZ Vertex 4, 256 gigabytes. And then we're going to first put in the screws again. Make sure it's on the correct side, so keep your orientations right. Go ahead and put those screws in, and then tighten them in. Do not over tighten anything in this build, as you probably will strip out the screws. Just make sure they're nice and snug. So go ahead and put the 2 screws in, and we'll put the SATA connector onto the SSD, and then we will bring the Mac Mini back into frame. Now, the last little trick I want to show you guys, if you have like kind of like a little card or business card, getting the SSD or hard drive back in is a little tricky. As you can see, there's 2 little holes. Now, the screws that you put on the SSD have to go into that slot. It's what holds the SSD in place. So what you do is you take a rather sturdy card, and you can put it in this little slot in between the little 2 plastic pieces. I'll show you in a second. If you can get a card in between there, just like so, it's going to allow you to put in this SSD pretty simply. If you don't do it this way, it's going to take you probably a little while to get that to sit into the 2 holes properly. You do want this to be in 100% correct. Like I said, if you mess anything up, you could damage your Mac Mini. So as you can see, it just pops right into those 2 little slots, and then you can just slide the card out. It will make a huge difference for how easy it is to get in. And then now we're basically just gonna do the entire process in reverse, and I'm just gonna let it fly through this. Like I said, if you guys break anything in your Mac Mini, I will not be held accountable for. This is just for tutorial purposes only. This is the process I did installing the RAM and SSD. Pretty simple. Now stay tuned in for the next episode. I will show you on how to, boot up this blank SSD and to basically install OS 10 onto it, and also how to partition it and basically get it ready to use. Now there will be a little kicker to this series. Like I said in my unboxing video, this will be the world's fastest Mac Mini. So there's a couple other things we have to do to this Mac Mini to make it even faster. But for those of you that just want to upgrade your hard drive and your RAM, this is the simplest way to do it. Throw in an SSD, throw in 16 gigabytes of RAM, and you will have a beastly machine. But anyways, guys, there's a lot more episodes to go, so stay tuned in for the next one. Like I said, I'm going to show you on how to install OS 10 onto the SSD and get it up and running on your desktop. So if you guys did enjoy this video, definitely throw me that thumbs up. That will help me out tremendously. Also, if you guys want to see more Mac tutorials like this, be sure to click that subscribe button. This has been Jeremy with Everything iDevice, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.